Okay, it says recording. I think we're good now. All right, so let me see if I can pull up the iLearn for you. Share my screen. All right, so when you go to iLearn, as I told you, you're going to hit sign in. Okay, and if you already have an account, you're going to log in here. I think I have a student calling me on my other line. Okay. So the username, if you already have a login, this is where you're going to go. Otherwise, you're going to use a book key here. If you're a first-time user, if you've never had an account, you're going to create an account here. So when you hit create an account, username, I would recommend that you use like your first name, last name for this. Again, write down the password that you write. Please put your name for first name and last name exactly how it appears on Blackboard so that I can sync up your name with your information. Your email address, that will be used, I think, for recovery purposes. And then you're going to hit submit. On the next screen after you hit submit, that's where it's going to ask you for the book key, and there's going to be an option if you don't have a book key for the trial at that time. It already knows that I've logged in, so I'm going to show you the login here. So once you log into the class, no one has logged in yet, so it tells me I don't have any students registered. The code, which is also in your Blackboard, this #633, you're going to enter that as the course code. That's going to put you in this particular class so that you can see what the assignments are. So I mentioned here you have your ebook. The assignment calendar will show you activities that I've assigned. So I generally see all these activities. We're not doing all of these. All right. I will leave them all under assigned here because that enables you to complete them should you decide you need some additional support in a particular activity. If I unclick it, then it deletes it from your view. But if it has a due date, if you click on view by date, those are the ones that I will be counting towards your credit for the class assignments. But there will be other activities in here. If you're struggling with a particular concept in the book, you can go here and you can look under the section and do another activity so that you can understand that part better. So the way that this is set up, this is the chapter is P, and then this is 1-1, and the activity is A, prononcer bien. So this is compétence 1, and it's activity A, so 1A. And it gives you the title. So the title actually syncs up with what's in your book on page 7. I mentioned that your ebook's available in here, so you can use that. There's self-tests. And this will help you, as it says here, take this test to see how much you know. A customized study plan will be created once you submit. Most of you are probably going to have a limited understanding of French if you've never taken the language. This is particularly helpful here if you have taken the language before, maybe at another institution and didn't finish the class, just to see what you know. So there's a pre-test and a post-test. The pre-test will help you prepare for the chapter, and then as we get closer to the end of the chapter to help you study for the test, I recommend you take the post-test, and this will identify areas that you have not mastered so that you can focus your studying for the test. This is the media library I was telling you about. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so you can see better. The media library, we have audio tracks, and these correspond to the numbers in your textbook. So the prononciation, the pronunciation activity on page 8 says 1-7. That corresponds with this track right here. So you can utilize those to listen and practice. Under this practice section, this is where our flashcards are for each section, for each compétence. So each chapter has 4 sections or 4 compétences or themes that they chunk the material in, and you can look at any one of those compétences separately for the flashcards or the entire chapter. So let's just pick one of these so you can see.
I'm not sure, but I think the screen is frozen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My screen is frozen?
Yeah, like I see you're moving around. Oh, never mind.
There we go.
Let's see. Why is my flash not working?
Everything you just did, I don't think we saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Okay. Let me go back here.
Like,
Okay, it says, wow. Why isn't it allowing? All right, I was going to show you this, but for some reason this computer is not loading the flash, so I'll have to figure out. I apologize. I'm using my laptop doesn't record, so I found out right before class that I had to switch computers for this. So if you go to the practice section here and click on this, you can get the flashcards, and they do require flash player, as you saw with mine. And that will allow you to practice hearing the words and studying those words. You can also use old school flashcards. So if you have, I'm going to mute everyone because, where's my, there we go. I'm hearing feedback, so I'll mute everyone. I'm hearing myself and it's echoey. This is a great way to study, but if you have regular flashcards, you can write out your vocabulary. You can, as I said in my video on vocabulary, you can write a sentence on there that has the word used, and you can do the translation on the other side and just carry them with you in your bag. And while you're waiting at a red light, you can look at them, or while you're waiting in line at Starbucks, you can practice with the flashcards to really just help get more connection with those words, and it will help you learn them a lot better. All right, so the I learned, some of your assignments will be in there. The rest of your assignments, some of them may be things that I ask you to do in our in-class activities while we're in the Zoom, and some of them are things that you'll submit through the Blackboard. There's one cultural question that I've already posted in the Blackboard for you to complete under discussions. So we're going to jump right in. I have to pull up my... Just give me a second. I'm going to pull up the PowerPoints. While I'm pulling it up, does anyone have any questions so far?
No.
I already unzipped these. I don't know why it's asking me to unzip the file again. Oh, here we go. Okay. So if you have your textbook, this is in the preface section, XXII and XXIII at the very beginning, but I have it here on your slide on the screen as well. This is a world map in 2 different pages, and when we look at this, it shows us really how widespread the use of French is in different countries. So in the dark green is the pays, région où le français est la langue officielle ou maternelle. So those are the locations where French is the primary or mother language or the official language of that area. So you'll see, par exemple, we have France, obviously. Where's my annotation? We have France down here. That obviously is the primary language. Quebec, primary language. A lot of our islands in the Caribbean, primary language. A large part of Africa, Afrique, is also primary language is French. Oops. If we look at the other colors, pays et régions où le français est langue co-officielle ou administrative. So that means that there might be more than one official language in that particular country. One of the examples is Chad here in Africa, where one of their official languages is probably some African tribal language. And French is, when they say administrative language, it's typically a language that is used in government. And so thereby it's a language that people would learn in school, should they attend school, especially private schooling, as well as upper class. And then we have the purpley color, pays et régions où le français est langue d'enseignement privilégié. So that's where you would learn it specifically in school, but it's not an official language for government. And then where pays et régions où il y a des minorités francophones. That's where people, there are people that speak French, but they are a minority. And one of our examples there is Nouvelle-Orléans, New Orleans, is an area where French can be found as a speaking language. All right. Let's get rid of that. Is there anything that surprises you about the map? Let me go back to the map for a second. I think I have her unmuted. Hold on, unmute all. Okay, is there anything that surprises you about the maps? No? So there is an activity on page 5. Let's go ahead and do that activity really quickly together. Le savez-vous? What makes French one of the most important global languages? Take this quiz and find out. If you don't know, guess. All right, so even if you don't have your book, you can still participate. We could do polling. Oh, I didn't set this up in advance. It's not going to let me do that. Okay. We'll do it with our chat box. So if you respond to everyone in the chat, that's how we'll do this. Question 1. Let me close out this poll. Find my slides. Sorry guys, I lost my slides. There we go. Okay. Okay, looking at the map, in how many countries is French spoken? About 5, about 25, about 40, or about 100? Put your answer in the chat box. So the answer is actually about 40 different countries where French is spoken. In or near which continents does French have a linguistic or cultural influence? Europe and Africa, Europe, Africa, and the Americas, or every continent? Answer in the chat box. Finish up your response. So if we look here, Europe, we have France. Africa, we have a number of different countries. But we also have this area here in Vietnam, which is Asia. We have Antarctica, and that's primarily the researchers that live there. We also have in South America, Central America right here, and North America. So the correct answer is every continent for that question. All right, next question. Are most of the Francophone countries in Africa located in the north, south, east, or west? Let me pull up the map here of Africa so you can see. North, south, east, or west? So predominantly they are in the west and the north, but we do have some in the south. So those are the predominant areas. And we also even have Madagascar off to the east, which is considered part of Africa. So that was a really tricky question. Which province in Canada has the largest number of French speakers? So let me go back up here. British Columbia, Newfoundland, Labrador, or Quebec? The answer is Quebec. Their primary language is French, and most of their business is done in French. True or false? French is not spoken in any areas of the South Pacific. You could either just do a T or an F. French is not spoken in any of the areas of the South Pacific. False. So all of these little islands all use French. Where in South America is French spoken? Good. Julian and Priscilla have put in Guyane. So just a little quick note, there is a French Guyana and then just a Guyana in South America. We're talking about the French Guyana. So when you're reading about Guyana, you have to really make sure that you're talking about the same place. Okay. True or false? There is a Francophone influence in the USA, particularly in Louisiana and the Northeast.
True.
Yes, that is true. So the reason for that being is that the reason that French is all over the globe is not because French is some huge superpower, although they are fairly influential in the European Union. But back in the time of explorers, French explorers traveled the globe. And just like how the Spaniards settled in different areas as explorers, the French did the same thing. And where the French explorers were, that language was infused into the culture in those areas. So whereas we see New Orleans and Canada here, a lot of our French explorers came across. If you recall from history, these French explorers were looking for a passageway to Asia for spices and a way to get to the Orient from France without having to go through the land. And so they thought that they could get there through the ocean. But they got stuck here because of this big landmass. And they landed in the northern area of Canada. A lot of those individuals became trappers, and the explorers there explored Canada. But also down in the islands and Louisiana, explorers came and they found riches and gold and were trying to settle in North America. And so that's where the influence came. Similarly, if we look at our map of Africa, again, they were trying to find an easier way to get to the Orient to trade with Asian companies or Asian peoples. And so they kept settling in Africa and finding land. And in some cases, Africa, they found things like riches like diamonds and things. And so that's why it's an influence in those areas, is because they settled and the language was used by those explorers and learned by the people who were native to that area. All right, so we're going to stop this particular activity because I don't want to spend the whole class period doing this. I want you to finish this activity. This will be one of our assignments to finish that. Tournez à la page 6. Les formules de politesse. So as we learn French, we're going to start by learning greetings because that's the most important thing. To be able to communicate with people, you have to be able to say hello and introduce yourself. Similar to Spanish, we have two verb tenses when we're talking to other people. We have the to form and the vous form. The to form, let me get out my board and erase it. The to form is used for people in a more familiar setting, people of your age, people that you already know. It's considered your familiar tense. Then we have our vous form, and that is for more formal. So to form is one person, and vous form is two or more people, or formal. Okay? So those are our two tenses. And if we look at à la page 6, page 6, we start with the vous form. And this is the form that we're going to use when we say formal. This might be used when we're talking to people of authority, like teachers, bosses, people that are older than you, like your grandparents, as well as people you're meeting for the first time. Sometimes you'll use the formal tense as well. So, when we do that, we're going to use the vous form. And if you look at the dialogue, which is in your book and is also on this slide here, we have comment allez-vous? How are you doing? Or how is it going for you? Again here, et vous, and you. using the vous form. In the introduction, they're asking what their name is. Et vous, comment vous appelez-vous? I'm going to go ahead and play this dialogue for you. You can follow along in your book.
Chapitre préliminaire.
Bonjour madame.
Bonjour monsieur, je suis Hélène Cauvin. Et vous? Comment vous appelez-vous?
Je m'appelle Jean-Luc Bertin.
Bonsoir monsieur, comment allez-vous?
Bonsoir, madame. Je vais très bien, merci. Et vous?
Assez bien.
Okay, now we're going to jump down to the bottom of the slide.
Et vous, comment allez-vous?
Je vais très bien. Assez bien. Pas mal.
Comme ci, comme ça.
Pas très bien.
Okay, so looking at this, we can break up the dialogue into several parts. The first being the greeting. In this case, we're using bonjour and bonsoir. Répétez, bonjour. That means you have to repeat me. Oh, I have to unmute you. Bonjour.
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 Let's try that again. Bonjour.
Bonjour.
And then we can also greet with good evening. Bonsoir.
Bonsoir.
That's this word right here. It looks like it's bonsoir, but that's not how we say it. Bonsoir, when you say that soir, it's like you're saying it with a smile on your face. Bonsoir.
Bonsoir.
Yes. There are some other greetings, and I'll have a handout ready for you on Wednesday that groups these things together. Another greeting that you might hear people say is salut. Répétez salut.
Where is that at?
It's not on here. That's why I'll have a handout ready for you. Salut.
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 Let me see if I can. I'll type it in for you. Salut.
Oh, salut.
Yeah.
Salut.
It means hello.
Salut.
All right. So that's the first part, and then you're going to typically, if you're talking to someone in a formal setting, you're going to use their salutation along with it. Their, in this case, Madame, Monsieur, Dr. Price, Mademoiselle. So we have a couple different words here that we could use with our greeting, Madame, Monsieur.
So, like, we would greet you like bonjour, madame, or would we just call you doctor?
You could say bonjour, madame. That just means like good day, Miss, Mrs. really. Or because you know I'm Dr. Price, you could say bonjour, docteur. It doesn't really matter to me. It's just a generally polite way of greeting someone. Typically, if you're in France and you go into a store, they're going to greet you with the complete salutation. So they're going to look at you, and if you look like a miss, they're going to say mademoiselle, which I just wrote on your slide. If you look like you are a little bit older than a miss, like of a marrying age, maybe mid-20 or above, they're going to say bonjour madame, And if you're a gentleman, they're going to say monsieur. Bonjour, monsieur. And that's just out of courtesy. You'll notice when we get to talk about greeting people we know, we're not going to use those salutations in a more familiar, like if you're greeting your friend, you're not going to say, hello, miss, because you know them. So that's the greeting. And then we're going to, if you're introducing yourself to someone, there's a couple different ways that you can introduce yourself. Let me change the color I'm using. So we have 2 ways to say what your name is. We could say je suis, I am, and then your name. Or you could use je m'appelle. Tout le monde, je m'appelle.
Je m'appelle.
That means I am called. Literally, I am called, or I call myself, whatever. But when we're translating it, we're going to translate it as my name is, okay? And then you're going to provide your name. The question that you're asking someone what their name is, in the formal sense, is et vous, comment vous appelez-vous? So, and you, what do you call yourself? Or and you, what is your name? Et vous, comment vous appelez-vous? Again, this is formal. So if you're talking to 2 people and you're asking what their names are, you would use this. Or in this case, these 2 people are meeting and they have never met before, and so they're using the polite tense. So typically after you meet someone and you introduce them in English and you say, hi, my name is, and they say their name, what do you say next in English?
After you say what's your name,
Yeah.
you just ask what your name is, right? Like,
And they say, hi, I'm Dr. Price, and then you say what?
Nice to meet you.
I'm Dana. Or
Nice to meet you, right? Okay, so in French, and you guys should be taking notes on this.
Yeah.
I will have a handout for you, like I said, but I encourage you to take notes and write things down because I'm explaining things that all that's in your book is this dialogue. So if you don't take any notes, you might have trouble when you go back to look at the dialogue. What was this talking about? So once you meet someone, you say, nice to meet you in English. In France, they're going to say, enchanté. Enchanté. I have to add a little accent on there.
And that's nice to meet you.
Yes, literally it means enchanted.
Ooh.
So if it will help you with the spelling to kind of remind, you would say enchanté, enchanté.
Do you mind if we spell like phonetically before I can, and then I can copy my notes the proper way? Like,
yeah, if it helps you to put phonetics next to the words,
yeah,
I would encourage you to do that. But the spelling is important. So
yeah.
like if you have a printed copy of the text and we're going over, or you're listening to dialogue, absolutely write things down phonetically to help you remember how you pronounce them. But learn how they're spelled as well.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking at it as like what you have right there. I know it's in our book, but I'm just kind of trying to spell it phonetically.
So after you say nice to meet you, typically the next thing that you might talk about is how are you doing? Or when you first greet someone that you haven't seen for a while, you say hi, salut, and then you ask them how they're doing. So here again, we are talking about using the vous form. So this is the formal. Let me do another color. So our question is, comment allez-vous? So here we have, I need to draw. these two letters here, the T and the A, we do what is called liaison in French, because it's hard to say comment allez-vous, which is how you would, if you were pronouncing the word separately, you wouldn't pronounce that T at the end of comment. But because the next word starts with an A, it's hard to say comment allez-vous. So you kind of have to pause. And so they've done what is called liaison, where you can kind of, it almost sounds like the two words are connected. Comment allez-vous? And you would pronounce that T. So that means, how are you? There are other ways to ask, how are you? And those, let me get a text. One of the ways is by saying ça va, and that C. Oh, I don't know if I can draw a little, it's not gonna let me do a little squiggly. There's a little, part of the problem with this drawing tool is that we don't have the accents or the accented words. So it kind of looks like it looks like a little number 5 under the C. Oops, that didn't work right. My little Cydia got messed up. If you're typing your assignments, you can use insert symbol to create the accents. So it looks like this. If I was writing it out by hand, you would go in your whatever word program you're using, whether it's in Google Docs or Microsoft Word, and you hit insert symbol, and it's under Latin characters. You'll find all the E's with the accents, the C with the CD, which is that little thing that looks like a 5 underneath, the E's with the circumflex, which looks like a little upside down V, all of the characters that you would need for French, because it's really important that you utilize the accents. Now, you'll notice when you use the online learning center, there will also be a special place that has those letters already, when you're typing things out, that you can add those characters more easily, because it will have a little place for you to click on it for it to add it in your text box. But I'm just telling you another option of how to create those characters. If you were doing a lot of typing in French, you could actually set up your keyboard to be a French keyboard. And there's also quick keys for the keyboard for the French characters. But I would just use insert symbol, because that is really the easiest. All right, the last thing I want to go review is at the bottom here, is the responses to how are you doing. We have a series of different responses. When you ask someone how they're doing, you can almost get any response. And there's a couple on here, from very good, très bien. Let's see. So you'd start with je vais, it's going, I'm doing très bien, very well, assez bien, pretty well, pas mal. Oh, I'm gonna mute everyone. There we go. Okay. Still not muting. If everyone can mute themselves, hit the mute button, everyone, because I can hear myself and it's causing feedback.
You gotta hit the mute button at the top.
Yeah, I got it.
Does everyone see how to do that? You hit the mute button. Thank you. Okay, and then we have pas très bien, not very well, right here. And then this one here, comme ci, comme ça. This is like, okay, so-so. So those are some of the examples of how you can respond. Someone needs to mute themselves again. Whoever is Big Bob, please mute yourself. Thank you. Okay. We're at a good stopping point. I will assign some activities related to greeting.
Sorry about that.
Where you at?
Right here.
I'm still getting the feedback. I don't know why that's doing that. Okay. I will assign you some activities on reviewing some of this material, and we'll continue with this topic on Wednesday. If you'd like to rewatch the video, I will try to make that available on Blackboard as soon as possible. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Otherwise, I will see you on Wednesday. Have a great day.